works perfect then. We
Hey,
have our
Gretch.
staff free. Yeah, so like I said, that's, my kids hug me because I smell like a big marshmallow. So this area is called the Smith Wildlife Area, and it's named after Slim Smith, the gentleman who owned it. So in the late 40s, Slim and his two friends, Dutch Lavrens and Wendell French, decided they were going to come down. They were going to tap the trees, collect the sap, and cook it into maple syrup. So Slim called up and he placed an order for 12 dozen buckets. He wanted 144 of them. So they said, perfect, we'll send them by rail. So when they arrived at the depot in Algona, the depot called, said, your buckets are here, bring a trailer. So Slim showed up in his station wagon, and they said, where are we gonna put them? He said, we'll just stick them in the back end. They said, that's not gonna fit. He said, I only have 144, and they said, no. Somewhere in that phone conversation, the order was placed for 12 gross.
Oh, goodness.
144 in a gross.
Oh, my goodness.
1,728 buckets showed up at the depot.
Oh.
Slim sent them back. We still have some of the original 144 buckets that he ordered.
Wow.
We've got a few of them still hanging tough over the years. So they came, when the first season, they cooked out in the open like this. There was no shack, they just had the fire and the pans, and they cooked out in the open. Well, you get rained on, snowed on, all that kind of stuff. So in the spring of 1949, they built the shack. And they used timber from here in the area. And then so the spring of 1950 was the first time they actually cooked the sap inside the shack. And been doing it now for 70 years that way.
How did they figure out how to do it in the first place?
Well, you know, if you track it back, they say the Native Americans figured it out first. From the concept of they would cut the trees down, you know, and hollow them out for like canoes and things. Well, that moisture in there tastes a lot like water. If you go up and stick your finger, it's 98% water, 2% sugar.
Okay.
So the Native Americans would actually collect it as water to cook in it. Well, only on accident, you cook it down long enough and you get syrup. So, but this process, you know, I don't know how, but because it works on a concept called specific gravity, which means when it flows in, being 98% water, it's fairly light. As you evaporate that water off, it gets heavier, and it actually runs down this first channel. There's a hole, it goes through that second channel and over to the third channel. So if you make hot chocolate from over here, it's gonna taste like hot chocolate. If you make hot chocolate from over there, you're in diabetic coma. That's what we said.
So this down here is the syrup down.
Not yet.
Not yet,
But
okay.
it will be.
Okay.
Yep, yep. So this, like I said, this first section is called the evaporator pan because we need to evaporate the majority of the moisture. Okay? So kids all think it's always smoky in here, but it's all steam. It's just the steam evaporating off. So I say, come spend 2 weeks down here with me, you'll have the best skin ever. We look so nice. Okay? So that end pan is what we call the finishing pan. When we evaporate a good majority of it down, we drain it. We open that spigot there. We have one on each side. We can take the sap out. We put it into this first keg, and inside that keg, we have a wool filter because we want to catch any floaties. We actually get a lot of sand because sap is stored in the root system. So when it comes up from the root, it brings the sand from the soil. So if we don't strain it, we get like a really thin layer of sand on the bottom, and then your syrup gets crunchy when you get to the bottom. We get moths too, and you know, so we strain, filter it. We continue to cook it in that finishing pan. We use that finishing pan because we can get about 2 to 3 gallons, and that's just a nice amount for us to handle. To pick the pan off and to pour it into the keg and that kind of stuff. It's just a good amount for us to work with. So we boil it down to about 2 or 3 gallons of syrup. When the majority of the water gets boiled off and it's a higher consistency of sugar, it will actually boil hotter. And we need it to get to 219. Okay? So we use the candy thermometer. This is Slim's candy thermometer he had. We use it, and when it hits 219, we know it's syrup. At 219, we have to get it off fairly quickly, because if it boils too hot, it actually turns into rock candy, which tastes really, really good, but it's super hard to get out of the pan. We had one season where we were down here 24 hours, and I pulled the night duty. I boiled it dry. It was warm. I was in my sleeping bag. Yeah, oh, it was a mess. Oh my gosh, that stuff was just thick. Tasted good. But,
It evaporates that quickly.
well, no, I fell asleep.
But still,
But yeah,
still.
oh, it's amazing
But
how,
still,
yeah, yep.
amazing.
This box just holds the heat in. It's really well designed. But so we take it off, we pour it into this keg, which has another filter, okay, and then we bottle it into the pint jars. Okay. We cannot sell our syrup. As you can imagine, we're not FDA approved down here. But Slim and his friends didn't sell it either. So we have it at our nature center, and for a donation, we share it with.
Okay.
That's how we get around that. And all donations go back into the shack. Everything that. You may have noticed if you look on the walls, all the handprints. Okay. So Slim, Dutch, and Wendell, they're right in that first corner over there.
Okay.
The three guys that built the shack. So in 1950, they drew their hand on the wall for their name and the date. And they said, now anybody who comes down here and works for a season can put their handprint on the wall. So theirs was in 1950. My daughter